It is demo day. Part 2 of the tiller conversion of this piece of hardware begins now. Get excited. So the first thing we should probably do as we're working on this is probably suss out some kind of a plan. So the end game is to have this console completely removed from the boat. I'm gonna start by just drilling out these rivets all along here. That'll get this throttle and shifter out. And then I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get this console off. This is where it's gonna get a little tricky because there's this bracket that it's not clear exactly how it's attached. And then I think there's some attachment points under this. So I'm gonna have to drill out the rivets for this in the top of the live well and pull that out to actually get to the attachment points underneath. So I guess one thing at a time. We'll start by getting the shifter off, and then I can get the rest of the steering linkage off of the tiller, and we'll kind of go from there. But I should probably spend at least a couple minutes cleaning up the mess that I've already made, because I'm not gonna need a lot of hand tools today for this demo. But we're gonna make a mess, for sure. And a few minutes of drilling out rivets later, it is off. That was almost too easy. So I think the next easiest hurdle to tackle, this is the cable for the steering. The manual wasn't real clear on how you take that out. In fact, there was no provisions for it, so I got that all the way off last time, and that didn't seem to be the juice. So I'm assuming it has something to do with loosening this and dealing with this bar, so I'm gonna fiddle with this for a little while. And once I figure out the solution, I'll tell you about it. So all you have to do is remove this here little plastic nut, preserve the O-ring and wiper that's on the inside, and then this guy, this whole steering shaft just pulls right out. So that's gonna live there for now. Well, I figure out how I'm gonna go about dismantling this console. Step 1 is probably gonna be removing the graph from the networking box. And while I'm at it, I should probably get my junk out of the live well out. Go from there. So I have somewhere a partial video of the install of this. So this is very much going to be an installation, or removal is the same or opposite of installation. So I'll work on this for a little bit, get that unbolted, and get all my fun little components out of here. Oh, that graph? Oh, she gone. She gone. And we got this back. I'm going to leave it wired for now while I figure out where I'm going to put it. But, another box has been checked. So we got that all cleaned out. Pull all the wiring out of there. And I guess the next thing is going to be to figure out how I'm actually going to unbolt this thing, because it's not intuitive. So there's a metal panel that hides underneath this console. Peeled that off, and on the back are all the fittings for the live well. Intuitively, I think the next place to go is to undo these fittings, drill out the rivets that hold the gray live well liner in, pull that up, and then access what looks like a couple of bolts that actually hold down the console proper. I don't know if you can see them, but there's one. So I think that's going to be probably the best course of action. Because whatever, there's probably 4 or 5 of those bolts, and then obviously we're attached from up top, not through the live well. So we're going to pull the live well out next. And voila. All the live well connections are severed. Now I bet when I drill those rivets out and pull this thing out, it'll be pretty easy to remove this console. So it just took that first piece of trim, that guy, out of it, and I spilled my beer. It's fine. But yeah, gotta love that. Quality control. Granted, it's concealed behind a trim piece, but still. Oof. And voila, the underside of the console. There's a wiring harness that comes up here that I'm going to attempt to disconnect. I'm assuming we're gonna have to dig around under there, but it seems like a pretty straightforward harness that runs up into the actual console. And then there's a couple of bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. We unbolt those and then this bad boy comes out. Man, it's coming together nicely. Guys. She's loose. Oh my God. It's the moment of truth. There is just so much more room for activities. Yeah, I made a mess. But think of the potential here. My goodness. So there's the throttle assembly, there's the console, there's the inner liner of the live well and the trim piece. And honestly, that wasn't that hard to get all that out. And just a little hole in the floor to deal with. Oh man, that's exciting. Well, so begins, I should say, the next step. Putting it back together in a way that makes sense. You know, with the tiller being the center of this whole thing. Whew, this might get a little interesting. So I pulled out the tubing for the live well and left the wiring because that I'm actually going to use to run new wiring, but I have to think about exactly how I want to do it. But I'm not going to lie, I am thrilled. It doesn't seem like a console would take up that much space, but as soon as you get rid of it, you just completely open it up. This little bit of extra square footage, I feel like is going to be immensely helpful for the overall livability of the boat. So I'm actually probably going to pack it in for tonight. I have to think about how I want to run the wires because I have to get the front nav light. I have to rewire the rear nav light. I have to decide how I'm going to route the wiring for the front graph, the rear graph, and basically all the networking boxes. I've decided how I want to do that. I've got some ideas, but some test fitting is going to be involved. And once I settle for a plan, we'll pick this back up. So demo day is complete. Everything is ripped out that needs to get ripped out. And now I got to install new stuff. But before I do that, I want to make sure I have a good plan. So I'm going to sign off for tonight, and I'll definitely see you on the next video. I don't know if I'm going to split this video up into 2 parts or just amend this video. I'll probably just make this one video. So we're going to call this part 2A, demo day complete.